Right, so the reason why I collected this hard plum the other day is because essentially we're going to make some spear tips out of this. This is really, really hard wood, and I'm going to sharpen these things up and put them on the end of that acacia branch that we took, that acacia branch, and turn it into a spear, a fish spear. Okay, let's get going. This is incredibly hard, this plum, and that's what we want. Got this one piece already here, which is great. Now we really need this bit. Okay, so we got this acacia the other day, and what we're going to do, we're going to make some spears out of this. It's pretty hard. I'm just going to chop a bit of it here, on here, to make some spears from this. Alright, I'll get rid of that. Chop a few of these things up to give room for tying on to the end. About that long, I reckon. That's one. We'll measure them off. Two. Right, so there's a bit of a knot there, and I'm going to use this, so I want to get rid of that. I just want to, because look at that, it's like a file, even on this hard wood. And I'll roughen that up to that surface, because I'm going to put the string, and I'm going to bind everything together here with this. All right. And we'll just make this a bit thinner. It's still too thick, because I'm not going after a marlin here. And I want it to penetrate. The thinner it is, the easier it will be to penetrate a fish. I have to say I'm really pleased with the steel in this knife. There's a lot of hearsay out there about what steel they're using. In their catalogue, Ator actually just say it's Mova. And I know a lot of Spanish manufacturers, other manufacturers, are using this Mova. And to be honest, you know, let's not get hung up on steels, but it's pretty good, you know. Oh, deadly. Okay. Deadly. I'll make that thinner because I want that to slide up on the fish. Right. Right, well, I've brought that down a bit in size. It's well worth making the journey the other day to get the hardwood. Right, I'll put a point on that a bit later on. I'll keep the point off it just for the moment, just so it's a bit safer. Okay, let's get going with the rest of the stuff. Right, okay, so we've got our sharpened sticks here. This is our wild plum, just to show you the difference there. This is already hard and dry. These are absolutely deadly. And we've got green acacia here. green acacia and the wild plum. Now the wild plum, because it's hard and dry, we can make some really super fine spear tips from that. And I'm just going to put all this over here. Right, okay, so this is the top end of the acacia branch we got the other day. And you can see it, I won't pull it out in the moment, it's really straight. Now the question is, do we keep this fork? This fork is right up near the end, or do we tie the spear onto here? It'll restrict our length if we keep that fork. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that to tie stuff around. So I'm going to cut it off here and keep this part here. So that's the next thing I have to do. We'll just put that bit of material over there. Right, so I'm just going to use this to snap this off. I don't want to make a big mess of it. And I don't... It's not necessary to use the blade on it. You know, I could chop it off with the blade. But then, if I do that, it's always wear and tear on the blade. I don't need it. And you see, this is just, you know, coming off there perfect. A nice cut on there. All right, okay. Again, I'm just going to use the same thing here. Just to snap this off. And now I'm not going to bash it with the knife. I could, but this is too weak and there's no bigger bits of wood around here. So I'm going to probably smash that if I try to bang that like that and then ram the knife into the stones, and that would be really stupid. So in that case, this knife is going to come in handy like this, and you can see that's really ripping into that green wood like that, and there's no the green wood's not being retained in the saw, so the function of the saw is quite nice like that. Now, because we're going to cut the end, I don't need to saw all the way through, but I just need to cut it a bit to weaken it. And there you go, that's it. It's done that, and we're going to keep that other bit. So what we're going to do is just carve that into a spear point as well. Thin it out a bit. Okay, right, okay. You see that? Right, okay, let's get moving with the next step. Okay, so I found these bits of cord that I had in my pack. This here is a bit of rock climbing. This is 2mm cord. It's really strong and it's not dynamic like paracord. It's static, and these bits of cord which came off some knife lanyards, and we're going to use those. That's all I've got here. Now I am on a riverbank, so there is willow bark. I could use willow bark, but the thing is to try to be prepared with cord first before we have to resort to all of that. Okay, let's get on with it then. Right, so what I'm doing here now is I am just lashing this on here. And I'll do a close-up of this in a sec so you can see that. Okay, let's do a close-up now. All right, now I like this rock climbing cord because this, as I said, is static cord. It doesn't stretch. And it's very strong. Bind that in there like that. Pull that really tight. Now this method, of course, requires that you have some way of binding the spear head material together, unlike the other method of splitting the end of a piece of wood, and which doesn't require well, it does require binding something because you've got to bind it to stop the split from breaking, and you don't want that to happen. Now, because these prongs here, can you see that there? Can you see that? Because these prongs have got a bit of spring in them, that's going to help keep the tension on this piece of cord. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, can you see that there? All right, I'm just slip that through that loop like this, and I'm going to get this other end. Can you see that down there? I'm going to pull that down there like that, anchor that in there, and then what I need to do here with this is anchor this. Right, so I'm just going to, as I said, right, what I'm going to do is, I don't want to lose this. If this comes undone in the water, it might stretch a little bit. So I'm going to tie this onto here, behind this here, right? That's why I left that on there like that, so I can anchor this on here. So I'm going to tie that on there. And that's just a, I'll tie it tight so there's no slack in there. Can you see that there? That's just a half hitch on there, but I'm going to finish that off just with a bit of a granny's knot in there, just to lock that in there, right? Get this out of the way. Okay, and that can't be lost off of there now. So worst case scenario, I lose my sticks, my spearhead at the bottom. What I'm not going to do, I'm not going to lose my string, because that's really going to be very useful to me. Okay, let's get moving with it. Okay, so that's our finished spearhead there. Let's have a look at that. Now the finished spearhead. I'll just make this centerpiece here a little bit sharper in a second. Okay.